I want to explain why seasonal foods are best for you. Now, a lot of this goes back to your inner caveman or inner cave woman. And our bodies have evolved to eat what's available when it's available. Until comparatively recently, there was no way of preserving food for more than the short period of time anyway. You had to eat what was in season because, well, that's all there was. You couldn't have something that was out of season. But of course, now you can eat anything, anytime. You can have your strawberries at the middle of winter if you want. And food can be preserved for long periods. You can freeze it, you can get it out of a tin, you can have it in a jar, you can keep it for very long periods of time so that you can eat it whenever you want to. And out of season fruits and vegetables are flown in by air freight from other countries, so you can get your out of season apples in the middle of the spring or strawberries in the middle of the winter, that sort of thing. And of course, intensive farming and artificial growing conditions have extended the growing season anyway. Lots of salad vegetables in particular are grown under polytunnels, these great big long plastic tunnels that you see in fields, and that can extend the growing season. It can make it start sooner in the spring, and it can extend it into the autumn and the winter as well, so you can get summer and spring foods sooner and later than you would do. But this isn't necessarily a good thing, because you see, nature provides you with what you need for the time of year, with what your body needs to process during the time of year for the different types of conditions that you're going to experience. So, for example, in the winter, you need fats and complex carbohydrates to keep you warm. Now, this isn't as big a deal nowadays where we've got central heating and air conditioning and all sorts of other things to make our modern lives more convenient. But as we go back to your inner caveman, your inner cave woman, you needed to burn off the fats to keep warm. And your body still craves those sort of things during the winter time. So, what are the best foods to eat in winter? Already, you want to eat things like root vegetables. We're talking things like carrots, parsnips, that sort of thing, because they're slow growing and they've stored up all the vitamins and the nutrients in the root. And you can eat them during the winter when they're ripe to be eaten. And also cruciferous vegetables, so things like cabbage, broccoli, that sort of thing. And oatmeal, have some oatmeal for your breakfast instead of a processed breakfast cereal, because you have the slow release carbohydrates that last out right through into the middle of the afternoon. And also red meat. A lot of the fats and the nutrients in red meat are especially beneficial to you during the wintertime. In the spring, your body needs more proteins to cope with the longer days. As the days start to get longer and you become more active, you're going to need more proteins to build your muscles. So in the spring, the sort of best foods you should eat are things like tender, leafy vegetables. We're talking things like Swiss chard, spinach, romaine lettuce, and that sort of thing. And the seasonal vegetables that sort of come into season in the spring, which are things like asparagus, artichokes, new potatoes, etc. And also lean meats, lamb, chicken, and so on. They're just coming into season in the spring, and that's the right time to eat them. In summer, low-calorie foods are best because you don't need to generate heat like you do in the winter. So the best foods to eat in summer are salad vegetables because they're coming into season then. So things like lettuce, cucumber, etc. And summer fruits because they're rich in the sort of nutrients that you need. So things like strawberries, blackberries, and that sort of thing. And also lean meats and fish. Although it's best to avoid oily fish in the summer because you simply don't need the fat. You need fats and sugars though in the autumn so that you can lay down reserves for winter. So in the autumn, the best foods to eat are warming autumn harvest foods. So we're talking things like carrots, sweet potatoes, onions, and so on. Again, they're just coming into season in the autumn. And seasonal fruits, apples, pears, plums, etc. And also game meats. Now, some people have a problem with eating game meats, others don't. But by game meats, I mean things like venison, game birds, that sort of thing, because this is when they're in season. And venison in particular has lots of nutrients that can really be beneficial in the autumn. And it is just coming into season that otherwise things like red meat, beef, lamb, that sort of thing. You also want to eat oily fish like tuna, because you're going to lay down those fats to keep you nice and warm during the winter when you're burning all the fat to keep warm if you're outside doing any sort of activity. Throughout the year, you should be sure to get fresh foods only, something that's nice and fresh that doesn't come out of the frozen food aisle, that doesn't come out of a packet or a tin. And free range or organically grown are the best ones to get if possible, because they're going to be free from pesticides and GMOs and that sort of thing. And farmers markets are the best places to shop for seasonal foods because your farmer will harvest it, take it to market and sell it, usually within a few days of the harvest. So there you go. A brief guide to why you should eat seasonal foods.